When I walk through the clinic corridors early in the morning, the smell of freshly brewed coffee is the first thing that brings me back to life, even after the toughest shift. But after 40 years of practice, I've learned to see that cup not as a simple pick-me-up, but as a real medical instrument. In skilled hands, it can help. In careless hands, it can harm, especially now, when we're no longer in our 20s, and every sip affects our blood vessels, our heart, and most importantly, our blood sugar. Many of my patients, after crossing the age of 50, ask sadly, "Doctor, does this mean it's only chicory for me now?" And I always answer, God forbid. Coffee is a treasure trove of antioxidants. It can help protect the brain from dementia. It's one of life's small morning joys. But after 50, you have to drink it differently. Today, I'm going to teach you how to turn your morning ritual into a powerful tool against high blood sugar and metabolic fatigue. We'll go through 5 rules that may seem like small details, but they determine whether your body is getting younger or wearing out faster. And make sure you watch until the very end. I saved one secret that you won't read in popular magazines, a golden add-in rule that changes the drink's chemistry on a molecular level and helps the pancreas work like a clock. Take a look at your hands. We often don't notice how our sensitivity changes over the years, how the first warning signs of diabetes or prediabetes appear. If you feel overwhelming sleepiness after lunch, and your morning coffee only gives you energy for 30 minutes, then we're doing something wrong, and we're going to fix it together. I value your time and your trust. So if you appreciate this thoughtful approach to health, please support the conversation, like the video, and subscribe. It will help other people your age find this important message. Because prevention is quiet work we do today. So tomorrow we're not running to pharmacies. Think about the smell of coffee in a good cafe. That aroma makes you smile. But have you ever wondered why sometimes, after coffee, your heart starts pounding and your mouth feels uncomfortably dry? That's a signal. And the first thing we'll start with is timing, the foundation. Many people make a critical mistake the moment they open their eyes. Let's talk about why the first sip right after waking can lead directly to a glucose spike, and how a simple 60-minute pause can protect your blood vessels. Picture this. A person wakes up, feels exhausted, barely washes their face, and drifts into the kitchen to pour in that first strong cup of black coffee. In medicine, we call this doing yourself a disservice. Why? Because your body has an incredible mechanism inherited from our ancestors, the hormone cortisol. Its job is to wake us up, raise energy, and prepare the body for action. And its peak happens in the first 40 to 60 minutes after waking. If you add caffeine during that window, you create an overlap. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, the ones responsible for the feeling of tiredness, and at the same time pushes the adrenal glands to release even more cortisol. For a mature adult, high cortisol is a serious stress test. High cortisol is directly linked to insulin resistance. In simple terms, when there's too much of it, your cells stop hearing insulin, and sugar, instead of turning into energy, stays in the bloodstream and damages vessel walls. I had a patient named Peter, a retired engineer. He complained of constant morning dry mouth and blood sugar spikes for no clear reason. We didn't change his diet. We didn't add new medications. We simply moved his first cup of coffee to 90 minutes after waking. 2 weeks later, he came back with his self-monitoring log. and his glucose dropped by about 1.5 millibrimol/L, just because we stopped interfering with the body's natural wake-up process. Try a simple experiment tomorrow. Get up and drink a glass of warm water. It washes your digestive tract from the inside. Then wait at least an hour. Let your natural cortisol do its job, and only when you feel that natural surge of energy starting to fade, that's when it's time for coffee. It won't be a stimulant for an exhausted body. It will be a refined addition to your well-being. Believe me, coffee tastes completely different when your receptors are ready, not shocked by a harsh start. But timing is only the beginning of our strategy. There's another crucial point that many people forget in the pursuit of energy. What we put into the cup. What we've come to consider normal. Most of us grew up in a culture where coffee without sugar was seen as strange or too bitter. We learned to soften it, but if we want blood sugar to come down naturally, we need to change our relationship with sweetness. Sugar in coffee, after umftias, forgive my bluntness, is poison in pretty packaging. When you add a spoon of sugar to a hot drink, it dissolves and absorbs almost instantly. Even in the mouth and esophagus, the glycemic impact shoots up. The pancreas panics and releases a dose of insulin to put out the fire. And then about 30 minutes later, blood sugar drops below baseline, and you feel even weaker, more irritable, and extremely hungry. It becomes a vicious cycle. We drink coffee to feel energized, and an hour later we're searching for snacks because the energy is gone. I often hear, "Doctor, but I can't drink that bitterness." And here's where medical experience and physiology help. Bitterness is actually a signal for the liver and gallbladder to start working. Sugar-free coffee stimulates bile flow, which is extremely important for digestion as we age. If giving up the sweet taste feels difficult, don't rush to buy sweeteners. Many of them can disrupt gut microbiota even more. Start small. Replace sugar with a pinch of high-quality cinnamon. Cinnamon has an amazing property. It improves insulin sensitivity. It's not just a spice. It's a natural metabolic regulator. One of my patients, a very refined woman, drank coffee with 3 spoons of sugar her entire life. When we started working on her health, she was devastated. We made a deal. Each week, she would remove just 1/4 of a spoon, slowly, so the brain wouldn't rebel. 3 months later, she told me in disbelief, "Doctor, I can taste chocolate notes, nuts, berries, flavors I never noticed before." And most importantly, the morning swelling she had suffered from for years disappeared. Sugar holds on to water, and extra water is extra strain on the heart, and extra numbers on the blood pressure monitor. Look at your coffee ritual as something sacred. You're not just drinking a beverage, you're communicating with your body. And if you give it a clean product without that white death called sugar, it will thank you. Do it for your blood vessels. Do it for the clarity of your mind. Try drinking coffee without sugar for just 7 days. At first it will feel strange. You might even want to quit. But by day 4 or 5, you'll notice your head feels clearer, and the usual morning fog after breakfast begins to lift. That's your blood becoming cleaner, and your vessels more elastic. However, once you remove sugar, you must not fall into another trap. Many people, trying to make coffee healthier or gentler, make a mistake with milk, and that brings us to our next step. Because what we've come to call an innocent cappuccino can become a serious obstacle for the metabolism of a person over 50. Milk sugar, lactose, combined with caffeine, behaves very differently than most people assume. And that's exactly what we'll discuss next. How to lighten your coffee properly without harming the pancreas. Because there's another longevity secret hidden there. One many people miss, assuming milk is an obязательный спутник старости, an unavoidable companion of aging. Do you know the irony of our time? We grew up believing milk is the symbol of health. Drink milk, kids. You'll be healthy. So we carry that habit into adulthood, generously adding milk or cream to every cup of coffee. But let's set childhood memories aside and look at it through a clinician's eyes. For a mature adult, the combination of caffeine and cow's milk is a complex chemical mix that can challenge metabolism. Milk contains lactose, natural milk sugar. When you add milk to coffee, you're essentially turning it into a mild sugar solution. What's more, milk fat combined with caffeine slows the absorption of beneficial antioxidants from the coffee beans. But the biggest issue isn't even that. There's something called the insulin index. And milk's insulin index is extremely high. That means even if a sip of milk doesn't raise blood glucose dramatically, the pancreas still gets scared and releases a large amount of insulin. And we already know, high insulin is a stop sign for fat burning and a direct path to blood vessel inflammation. I often see patients who genuinely try. They avoid candy, cut back on bread, but drink 3 or 4 large coffees a day. And they're surprised their waistline doesn't shrink, and their blood sugar stays at the upper edge of normal. So we do a simple experiment. We remove cow's milk from their coffee for 2 weeks. The results surprise even me. Tissue puffiness goes down, under-eye bags shrink, and morning joint stiffness becomes noticeably easier. So what do you do if black coffee feels too harsh? I'm not asking you to suffer. My doctor's advice: try plant-based alternatives, but do it wisely. Unsweetened almond milk is an excellent option. It softens the drink, contains minimal carbs, and doesn't trigger insulin roller coasters. Here's another secret from experienced geriatric doctors. Try adding a small piece of high-quality butter or a teaspoon of coconut oil. What some call bulletproof coffee. Fats, unlike carbs, do not spike insulin. They give long-lasting satiety, protect the stomach lining, and help your brain work sharply, like in younger years. Many patients look at me with disbelief at first. Coffee with butter, doctor? Are you serious? But those who try it rarely go back to milk. It gives a calm, steady level of energy, without the crash afterward. That's what real self-care looks like. Choosing not what you've been used to since kindergarten, but what your body truly needs today. At 50, 60, or 70, try drinking coffee without cow's milk for at least 1 week. You'll feel your body dry out in a healthy way. Excess water leaves, and your thoughts become clearer and more transparent. And now we come to the 4th rule, possibly the most critical for kidney and heart health. We often talk about coffee as something that energizes us, but we forget. Coffee is also a great thief. It takes away what your cells need to live and what your blood needs to flow normally. If you don't know how to properly compensate for every cup, you risk turning benefit into a hidden threat. We're talking about hydration, and why a glass of water next to coffee isn't just a fancy cafe detail, but your protection against clots and high blood pressure. Do you know what aging does so quietly? Your body stops sending loud thirst signals. At 30, you feel thirsty and you drink. After 50, the brain's thirst center becomes less sensitive. You can walk around dehydrated all day and not realize it. blaming headaches on weather and weakness on age. And coffee can make this worse. Caffeine is a natural diuretic. It makes the kidneys work faster, flushing out fluid. But along with water, you lose key minerals for the heart: magnesium, potassium, calcium. For a mature adult, this isn't abstract information. Magnesium deficiency shows up as nighttime leg cramps and anxiety. Potassium deficiency leads to heart rhythm issues, the arrhythmia we fear. And the most dangerous effect is thickened blood. Imagine your blood as a river. When there's enough water, it flows easily, reaching every tiny capillary in the brain and the toes, delivering oxygen. But when you drink coffee and don't replace the fluid, the river becomes shallow and thick, like syrup. The heart has to work incredibly hard to push it through the vessels. That's why many people see their blood pressure rise after coffee. It's not caffeine directly, I tell them. It's your heart struggling to pump thickened blood. I tell every patient, use the shadow rule. Every cup of coffee should have a shadow, a large glass of clean water. In good coffee shops, they serve water not just to wash away bitterness, but to reset the palate and restore balance. But we'll do it for medical reasons, and the water should be room temperature, or slightly warm. Cold water can cause stomach vessel spasm, which we don't need. Take a sip of coffee, enjoy the aroma, feel the depth of flavor. Then take 2 sips of water. This simple habit does 2 powerful things. First, it dilutes substances that may irritate the stomach lining. Second, it prevents your blood from thickening. I once treated a 62-year-old man who had constant floaters in his vision and ringing in his ears. Tests were mostly normal, but his blood was extremely viscous, like tar. It turned out he drank 5 or 6 strong espressos a day and barely drank water. We introduced a strict rule: a glass of water before coffee and a glass after. A month later, the ringing disappeared and his blood pressure stabilized. Without increasing medication, he literally diluted his problem. And one more crucial point for anyone watching blood sugar: water helps the kidneys remove excess glucose. If your blood sugar rises, water is the simplest, most accessible way to help your body process it. Don't ignore it. Keep a beautiful water carafe on your table. Make water part of the coffee ritual. It's not a burden. It's the culture of a person who values every organ they have. Try it tomorrow. Don't drink coffee while rushing. Sit down. Place a glass of water next to you. Feel how water refreshes your mouth after rich coffee. It gives you a sense of control over your health. You're not just fueling up. You're doing thrombosis prevention right at your kitchen table. But even with water and no sugar, there's one nuance that can cancel the benefits. It's what you pair coffee with. We're used to coffee as dessert, or as something that goes with breakfast. But at our age, the sequence matters. If you drink coffee with food, you trigger one set of processes. If you drink it separately, something very different happens. And there's one category of foods that turns coffee into an insulin bomb, even when there's no sugar in the coffee itself. That's the 5th rule, and this is where 90% of the mistakes that lead to diabetes happen. What's the biggest trap of a normal breakfast? We often treat coffee as the final touch, the finishing point after oatmeal, a sandwich, or cottage cheese. But right there, at the intersection of food and coffee, is a secret that either keeps sugar under control or makes it creep upward. After 50, order matters. If you drink coffee as dessert after something carb-heavy, quick oats, white bread, caffeine acts like a catalyst. It intensifies your glycemic response. In simple words, sugar rises higher, and stays elevated longer because caffeine is present. Many clinical studies support this. Caffeine combined with high carbohydrate intake reduces insulin sensitivity by about 15%. For a young guy, that's minor. For us, it's extra strain on a pancreas already working near its limit. So my fifth rule is never combine coffee with fast carbohydrates. Forget cookies, waffles, or even sweet fruit on the side. Coffee is the perfect partner for protein and healthy fats. Remember the butter coffee idea. If you're having breakfast, pair coffee with a poached egg, a piece of lightly salted fish, a handful of walnuts, or a slice of hard cheese. Fats and proteins slow caffeine absorption, making the effect the gentler and longer lasting. You won't get a sharp adrenal hit. You'll get smooth energy for hours. I had a patient who loved starting her morning with oatmeal cooked in milk and a big coffee with honey. Sounds healthy, right? But her blood sugar 1 hour later would shoot above 9 mmol L. We changed only one detail. We replaced oatmeal with an omelet and vegetables and swapped honey for a pinch of cardamom. Her breakfast changed, and the sugar swings stopped. Coffee paired with protein and fiber began working for her health, not against it. And by the way, about cardamom and spices. Coffee has natural acidity that can irritate the stomach lining with age. Adding cardamom, cloves, or ginger not only creates an amazing aroma, it also helps neutralize excess acidity and supports digestion. It's an old Eastern secret that modern doctors can now explain scientifically. The essential oils in spices improve digestive enzyme activity. Make it a rule. Coffee is either a standalone item or a companion to a protein-fat breakfast. If you truly want something sweet, delay coffee for an hour after dessert. Let your body handle glucose first. Don't push it with caffeine. Try this protein approach for a week, and you'll notice something surprising. Hunger won't hit 2 hours later. You'll feel calm, focused, and energized until lunch. That's the harmony we want, where food and drinks don't control our mood, but serve us. Everything we discussed, timing, no sugar, milk alternatives, hydration, and food pairing, is the foundation. Now we reach the peak I promised at the beginning, because there's one more nuance. Not how we drink coffee, but what kind of coffee we choose, and the small golden add-in secret that locks in the results. We're moving into the final summary, where I'll reveal the last detail that makes this entire system truly restorative. We've reached the most important point, how to put all these pieces into one picture of longevity. In medicine, as in life, it's not one dramatic effort that matters. It's a system. We weren't just talking about a drink. We were building a strategy to protect your body. Let's calmly review the path. We learned that rushing is the enemy of health, and the first cup should wait, while natural cortisol gently wakes the body. We understood that sugar in coffee is not just sweetness, but a hidden strike against your blood vessels, and we learned to replace it with the warmth of spices. We agreed that a glass of water should be the shadow of every dose of caffeine, protecting the heart and kidneys, and we redesigned breakfast around proteins and healthy fats, so coffee gives energy instead of triggering hunger. But I promised you the secret, the golden add-in that crowns this routine. It's a tiny amount of natural cocoa butter, or a drop of real vanilla extract, only natural, with no sugar. Why is it important for us, people with experience and age? Cocoa butter contains unique fatty acids that, together with caffeine, create a protective layer on the stomach lining and more importantly, provide a slow, physiological release of energy. It makes coffee smart. Blood glucose stays stable, and the brain receives nourishment that lasts throughout the day. This small addition turns ordinary coffee into a tonic for cognitive health, protecting us from the age-related decline we all want to avoid. I want you to feel this. After 50 is not a time of bans. It's a time of fine adjustments, a period when we begin to listen to the body not through pain, but through care. Every cup of coffee you drink by these rules becomes a conscious choice for a long, active, clear life. I truly believe these simple steps can help you feel better within a week. Remember, your health is the greatest value you have, and you deserve to enjoy every morning without fear of what the glucose meter will show. If today's conversation resonated with you, if you felt support and value, share this video with someone you love. Maybe a friend or family member needs this calm physician's guidance right now. Live in balance, enjoy your coffee, and stay healthy. We'll continue these conversations about how to make the later years the best years of life. See you next time.